Hello, I'm Jackie Jones of Jones & Associates Law PC, your family fixer. And yes, I know I'm coming from my personal page again, but it went over so well last night because, and my puppy loves, every time I'm on the camera, she wants to find a way to be in. So say hello, Mila, so you can go bye-bye. Okay. Now, what I found out yesterday, I talked about some of the perils of the pandemic, what it's like to be self-employed and trying to figure out how to pay your expenses, how to live your life, how to apply for things, and how to figure it all out. And I have to say that you guys were great. So many of you jumped on. So many of you gave you great ideas. So first, I want to thank everybody because I told you yesterday about applying for unemployment as someone who's self-employed and it being the first time I've ever done that. I mean, obviously, when you create your own job, you don't file unemployment because you're the last one there. I mean, everyone else goes before you, right? So I filed for unemployment and I learned a lot. And in fact, one of the people who was watching last night sent me some great information. And so, Sonia, I'm definitely going to call you. But she also told me about a grant. So today I applied for a grant as well. And my good friend Dana Stoneberg, who is a grant writer extraordinaire, helped me with it. So yay, simple is best. And someone who knows what to say helps. Now, so yesterday's plan was unemployment, and I don't know what's going to happen with that. Today's plan was a grant. I filed for that. And I also spoke with a friend who's a supervisor in the office, in the county assistant's office. And I was like, hey, do you think I should apply for like food stamps or something? You know, like, what do you, do I do that? Do I not do that? Do I wait? Do I see if I get unemployment? And she's like, listen, think about this. If you do go through a period where there's no income at all, yeah, we're being really generous with food stamps right now. That's something you can apply for. And if you have any extra money, you can use it on other things. And I realized, that's true because if I do file for unemployment, and apparently every Sunday you go to unemployment and you tell them if you have income or anything. Like, again, I never knew this. But as someone who is kind of employed, but kind of not, every Sunday when I go and I make this claim for unemployment, which I've never done before, I can tell them if I had income, which means great for me. Like if clients come in and I make enough money, I don't need it that week. But the next week, I suppose, if there are no clients and I need it, I can get it. But the next thing would be to apply for county assistance, which can include, for some people, cash. It could include food stamps, and then it can include medical assistance, especially for your children. You definitely want to make sure your children have medical assistance if they qualify. And as I had mentioned yesterday, if your children have IEPs, they qualify. If they have certain chronic illnesses, they also qualify. So you want to make sure your children always have health care no matter what, and some kids qualify automatically. Some of these things I knew, like, right, I'm a guardian for a lot of people, and I have to fill out these county assistance things all the time. So like I have to do it every couple of months, 6 months to a year for my clients who were in nursing homes to make sure that they continue to have Medicaid, to make sure that they continue to have all the health care they need. And it's really important right now because one of my wards, oh gosh, forgot, I have to send in information for hospice. Guys, I'm sorry. One of my wards has COVID-19, and she's always a struggle. I mean, she's been a struggle for me for a long time, but she's had kidney functioning issues. And watch, it's probably like my mother and my sister, because who calls my house? Oh, that's my friend Dina. Dina, why are you not watching my live? Like, she's not watching my live, right? So she's had these kidney functioning, and one of the things that happened with her COVID-19 is that her kidney function is declining. It's declining rapidly, but because of her other mental health issues, we don't think that she'll go into a hospital. We don't think that we can get her that kind of treatment. In fact, we don't think, she's not even agreeing to an IV. So we're trying to put an IV for fluids, like somewhere, hide it in the back where she doesn't realize it's there when she sleeps. I mean, all these things. But what that means is that I'm now in the spot where I have to send back forms so that she can have hospice and that they can start to put her on hospice care because we think due to COVID-19 and this nursing home that she's going to be at the end of life. I say all this to say, yes, I had a lot of experience applying and submitting things to the county assistance office for different forms of welfare. But I realized that a lot of people have not done that. So they don't realize that their children can get medical. They don't realize that maybe they qualify for medical. They don't realize that if you're in a month where you have no income, that you may qualify for both cash and for food. And even without the cash, you may qualify for food. So I may have told you yesterday, I was talking to my kid's caseworker that deals with their health insurance stuff. And she was like, girl, apply for everything. Like, any month you don't have income, like, apply. You totally have worked for it. Like, you deserve it. And so a lot of you told me as well. I spoke with her supervisor today, who's a good friend of mine. And she was also saying that they're being a lot more generous with food right now. They're being generous because they don't want people to starve. So what we have is people who are essential workers. Now, I know many of you thought doctors and nurses, they're essential workers, right? But these people who are working in unemployment offices, these people who are working in the county assistance offices, they're essential because they are like the front line of trying to help you stay alive when you first discover you don't have a job. Like, they're not trying to turn you down. They're not trying to make it difficult for you. Like, these are people, like, this woman was the happiest I'd ever heard her. She was working from home. She was like, I just want to make sure my Xfinity has no problem. Like, I have a teenager, but I'm just trying to get this done. I'll have everything together, because she didn't want anyone to be suffering through this. Like, she was blessed to have a job. She was blessed to be able to work from home. And she knew that a lot of people are suffering. I don't feel like I'm suffering now. I mean, honestly, I'm not suffering like some people are, because I have resources and I know how to deal with things. So, for instance, there are people right now who know they can't pay their rent, and they know they have a landlord who will try to evict them the minute the court lifts the ban. The court lifts the ban on Tuesday. Wednesday, they're in there being evicted. Or there are people who have mortgages, and they didn't realize you can call your mortgage company and try to make some kind of arrangement. There are people who right now have paid their entire electric bill, not realizing that PECO has given us a couple of months, and I heard Delmarva through June, and different places around the country and have given, and the world even, have given us a couple of months to kind of pay these things off. So, like, I got my bill and I was like, I'm gonna pay what I want. Like, I'm gonna pay something. I'm sorry, but like, I'm not using all my cash right now because I don't know when my next payment is going to be in. I don't have a W-2 job. I don't have a paycheck that's automatically coming in. So yeah, I have a new client who's going to pay, half his bill this week and half next week. But in case that doesn't come in, I want to have cash. And not only that, I have bills. So let's just say I do get money in. Before I pay myself, I always pay my landlord to make sure I have a rent for my office, and I pay other expenses of the office. You always make sure your staff is paid before you. And people who've never owned a business don't realize that. Like, you may be thinking, oh, my boss makes more than me. But let's be clear. If any of us in here who are bosses, we know that we always make sure they get paid before us. And guys, I see that you're joining, but if you could just say hello, or, tell me what you're thinking, or tell me if you agree, because I like this talk back method. So after yesterday, I realized a couple of things. One, if this goes on much longer, I'm going to do one of two things. Either I'm going to buy one of those $20 wigs that Facebook keeps advertising, which I hear is not good. Like, because the YouTube lady bought one of the $20 wigs, and she was like, no, this one's not good. But they look so pretty on the Facebook. Or the next thing you know, I'm going to start doing those makeup tutorials, because I bought a lot of Juvia eye palettes and they're on sale again. The long and short of it is, this is going on too long, because today, not only did I have to sew for my daughter who thinks she's a designer, then I watched and helped her set up a whole backdrop in our living room along with professional lighting. You guys saw me post that. Like, this is what we're doing at our house, okay? So I need to be in work because this is bad. But all this to say, it's always good to have options. It's always good to have resources, and I learn more about them. So after yesterday's, what I thought was very honest. Like, I don't consider myself to be suffering, but I don't know where my next check is coming from, if that makes sense. But I always trust God, and I always believe it'll be there. But I realize that I have to actually participate in this group economy. That means that there are things out there that I had to learn about, like unemployment for those of us who are in the gig economy, or 1099 or self-employed. I had to learn about that. I had to look into grants, which I did. And then tomorrow I'm going to apply for public assistance, because maybe we will need food stamps at some point. If things go bad, I want to make sure my kids are always eating. Now, will my family make sure I eat? I absolutely believe they do. Will any of you help me? Absolutely. Because yesterday, after yesterday's very honest live, I had people calling me, texting me, emailing me, messaging me, saying, if you need anything, ask. And I really thought that was amazing. And then I also had people who I never expected reach out to me. We had people offer me, their businesses they're started, and tell me about all that. So those things are all great. But what I also learned is that now is the time for all those of us who have any specialized knowledge or any ability to tell other people how to do this, how to do the things. So for instance, schooling, I was, talking to some of my friends about, and I remember someone saying, well, our district is, her district is very, very rich. And I'm like, yeah, they may be. But as someone who's in a school board, and I saw Dave joined, one of the things that we were explaining is that everyone is not in the same position. So she was assuming that because they all have laptops and because they have, enough for all the kids, and she wanted this and that and the other. And I said, listen, we're trying to give the best education possible to all the kids. And we also have some children we have to actually hand laptops out to because they don't have them at home. And we had some children who we had to see if they had internet access before we could do online learning because they didn't all have it. And as I keep saying, we need grace in this time period. Not only grace for ourselves, but grace for everyone else. Because we are suffering in our own ways, but other people are suffering too. And I think as we talk about, just like we talked about earlier about who's essential, we know that doctors and nurses are essential. But we learned during this crisis that grocery workers are essential. We learned that janitors are essential. We learned that people who work in the county assistance office, people who work in unemployment, they are essential. And there are a lot of people who are not getting paid very much, who don't have a lot going on. But as a result of this crisis, they are making our lives bearable and easy. So I have been doing this the last couple of days where I'm being vulnerable and I'm saying what I'm afraid of and what I don't know. But I'm helping you learn the process as I learn it, because what I also found in these private messages is that people were afraid to ask. People didn't know you could apply for those things. People didn't know that they may qualify for these grants. They didn't know that they may qualify for unemployment now they're self-employed. I'm getting private messages with people who are saying that, they didn't understand how the process worked, and having someone who's willing to talk them through it is actually a good thing. So thank you all for that. Thank you for allowing me to be honest and to kind of humble myself and not be afraid to say it's not perfect for me. Everything's not perfect. So yesterday, there were a ton of questions. Like yesterday, you guys had a lot to say. And tonight, I think we're a little more subdued. But if you have questions or you want to talk, talk. We love to hear it. But okay, so let's just go back over to some of the things that we reminded people to do. If you are self-employed, look into the PPP. Basically, that's the payment protection plan, paycheck protection plan. So if you have employees or if you have leases and certain other expenses that you have to pay, those can become grants to you if you qualify. They have just authorized a new amount of money that'll be starting soon. The president literally just signed it today. So that'll be new money. There's the EIDL. I don't even remember what that stands for, but apply for that as well. There are private grants throughout the country. And in fact, there is a private grant here in Delaware County that is going live on May 6th and May 6th only. If you're eligible for that, do that. Whether or not you are self-employed, gig economy, or 1099, or just someone who lost a job, or certainly not just lost a job, but is underemployed because you used to work full-time and now there are enough hours, you also consider whether you need to apply for county assistance. This is actually the time when you should have it. People always talk about, well, I won't be on welfare. This is actually what it's for. It's not for your lifetime. It's actually for when there's a catastrophe or there's a major thing that happens. And I'll look into that and I'll tell you about that. I do know, and I did look somewhat into it, that the application process is simple. You can go to the compass.state.pa.us, I believe, and you can apply right there. You can upload documents you need there. You can get a caseworker assigned to you, and they can call you. They can follow up with you. I talked to both a caseworker and a supervisor today about that process, and they are being very generous with people who need food. It is much easier to get food stamps if you provide the information because they don't want people starving. We understand that's an issue. So that's another thing that you should be thinking about. And also, something I didn't talk too much about yesterday is thinking about other ways to make income. Now, obviously, I believe in the pivot. My business is about the pivot. So we're doing way more estate work, wills and trusts, which I always have done, but way more around the entire state of Pennsylvania than we used to. But I'm also working on some other publications. You guys know that I do romance novels under assumed name. You will never know that name on Kindle. But I'm also going to be doing some other things. I have a training class coming up this weekend because with a course that I was already working in doing these other books like journals, helping people do journal writings and prompts so that people can kind of work on themselves. Now is the time to reflect. And, I'm always good at asking the questions. So I will be putting some of those questions in book form and allowing people to buy journals. And if you'd like to buy my journals, I'll make sure you know how to do it. Think of it as your contribution to me or to those teenagers, those very, very expensive teenagers. So, wow, I'm rambling again. I told you I ramble. But it was just that I felt so overwhelmed by what a response we had last night. I felt overwhelmed because I realized that so many of us have the same issue. And the issue is that life is not the same. Right? You may be making the same money, but you have more expenses because of this. I mean, you lost some expenses. You can maybe play around in your pajama bottoms, but, it's more expensive when you buy food. It's more expensive when you buy everything because of some price gouging. You may be someone who always had a really great job and suddenly your job is no more. And you don't know how to pivot and how to deal with that. That's an issue. I will say that in addition to all the people who offered me options, I will say this, I'm willing to look at a lot of options. However, if your option is multi-level marketing, I'm not the one because I did that before and I'm not ready to build a team right now. So sorry. Sorry, I will buy from you, but today, no more teams for me. But if you are someone who is in the middle of that pivot, you're someone who is trying something new for the first time, reach out to us. Like, reach out to your friends, reach out to people who are home right now, people who can look at what you're doing. So if somebody gets a call to help read and edit my book, thank you. If you would like to volunteer to be one of the editors of the book, if you would just put it here in the comments. Don't all rush at once. It's only like 5,000 words right now. Like, come on, somebody, help. I see your names. I'm going to call on you. I see Yasmin, Ty, and Celia's name right now, so it's probably going to be them. But anyway, if you're in the midst of a pivot, now is the time to try something you always wanted to try something new, share with other people, give them an idea of what you're doing and see what they think about it. Like, people are offering to help, like, take advantage of the help. I keep saying the same thing, like, take advantage of the help. And I say that because I'm saying it as much to you as I am to me. I did not know how good it felt to be vulnerable, to tell people the way my grammar is set up. Whatever, Ty, I know you can talk. I did not know how good it felt to be vulnerable, to say that you were struggling with something and actually have people reach out to you. Like last night and today have been amazing I'm talking all through last night, including 4 o'clock in the morning. I looked and there was a message from somebody offering help. I didn't realize that having a community was so good until I was willing to actually be vulnerable and say that there are some struggles I have. And I don't even feel as bad as some people do. Like, I'm not crying every day. I'm not crying about it. Like, if I want to go outside, and tomorrow I'm going outside to walk because we're doing this boardwalk. So I'm going to be walking tomorrow for our 2020 seniors. Somebody pray for me. I don't like to go out. But like, I'm not struggling like some people are. And I think I'm not struggling because this is thankfully because of my training. I know how to find things and I know how to have opportunities and I know how to take advantage of opportunities. But I realize that there are people who are literally in the same position I am who don't know what the next step is. And I've actually even had, when people have shared the live yesterday, shared things where they said stuff like, well, hey, I hope this person reaches out to you. And I realize that's because people are struggling and they kind of don't know what to do. So again, we're going to recap some things you can do. Everyone knows apply for unemployment, right? If you are working less than usual, if COVID-19 has impacted your ability to work a full schedule, apply. That includes if you have a 1099, if you're a gig employee, or if you are, hey, Connor, 1099 gig employee, or if you are self-employed. Unless you're in the sex industry, because they specifically excluded that, but okay. So apply for unemployment. If you think, or you may be eligible for some of these plans, the PPP, which allows for the loan to become forgiven if you use it on certain expenses, make sure you take advantage of that. The EIDL, make sure you apply for that. There are other grants by private companies, including grants that are going to be available in our local area from now through May. There are deadlines, so be looking every day for these deadlines. If you need any information on any ones I've applied for so far, ask me. I didn't do that many, but I will. If you are thinking about public assistance, think no more, apply. You may be able to get food stamps. And I need you to think about this for a minute, because you may think, oh, I don't need it yet, I have money. And that's what I was thinking. But what happens if you suddenly are down to money that's going to last you for a little bit, or you run out of unemployment, or you know what's going to happen? Do you want to have that cash set aside to make sure your electric is paid? Or do you want to have to use it on food? Because obviously you need to eat, right? But you also need things like electric. So you can get food stamps, but you can't get LIHEAP anymore right now, unless you've already applied. LIHEAP is a special program that we have here in Pennsylvania, which is like electric, assistance for heating and that kind, and that kind of thing. But so you have to really think strategically about how you use your money. Let's talk about some of you who are in the public sector. We have seen in Delaware County, where I live, public sector employees being laid off. Things you'd never expect: the public defender's office, the probation and parole department, the child support enforcement office, places you'd never expect, like you expect them to keep going and going. They have experienced layoffs. Again, remember the pivot. If you are in these kind of sectors and you're doing these things and you can't get full-time jobs, look for gig jobs. Look to do some part-time work with someone else. Look to help a solo or small firm. Look to, do some paperwork or some, for somebody, and, get a couple hours here and there of cash for some business that's still going. So always be looking to pivot. If you are in a job that you thought was going to get back after this is all over and suddenly it fell out from under you, be thinking about what other companion industries that you can be involved in that might help you along the way. So kind of more of the same. And this is more of the same of what I was saying before. The long and short of it is, we're all in this together. It's pretty miserable for all of us. Let's have a really great time learning and doing the best that we can. And keep me engaged, because as I told you, we do not want me buying the $20 wigs off of Facebook, and we do not want me doing makeup tutorials, because I've been in the house long enough that those things are a distinct possibility. Oh, hey. So, any questions, any thoughts, any things? Because I know after this last one, a lot of people sent me stuff privately, and I just like to address it while we're here. What else are we going to talk about? My tea, because I live with teenagers and I need something warm. Also, my daughter conned me into letting us make chocolate chip cookies tonight, so we have chocolate chip cookies, and that goes well with tea. And now I'm rambling. So the ramble is over. Let me just tell you a little bit about what I'm doing. Claudia, hey. Let me tell you a little bit about what I'm doing since I have you all here. So in addition to trying to work, which I'm not getting done very well, I have a lot of work to finish. I really need to finish these divorces. Yeah, people are still getting divorced in the middle of all this. Yeah. Okay, so in the middle of all the divorces, and there's also the estates, because I'm trying to deal with people who passed away, but in the middle of doing all those, I also have a book, How Not to Get Arrested and Go to Jail During COVID-19. Some of you saw one of my sample of the book cover. I'm still working on it. I'll post some more. You guys can pick what you like. So How Not to Get Arrested and Go to Jail During COVID-19. And I could use some help editing, because my copywriter, she took a lot of the stuff that I said, but it just doesn't feel like me, if that makes sense. Well, anyway, so I'm doing that. My class, my course, Custody Boot Camp, is ready, but I need to add some more documents. I should have just hired a VA to do it, because people don't care about homework, but I do. And I was like, so I have homework. Queen of Hustle, yes, Saida, always hustle. So the course, the Custody Boot Camp, is ready. I wish I can get my custody playbook ready, but that's going to take a lot longer. The journal writing is going on. I'm going to be meeting with my coach about that this weekend, so that I can have some of my journals done for specific prompts. I have a couple ones that are exciting. One that I'm working on for my clients, because I have a lot of clients who are going through custody exchanges, and I've been telling them to write things down, and I'm creating a journal that will allow them to know what they should be writing down, that will help us with court, and also some other ones that are going to be more about self-discovery in a time like this. And I know a lot of us like to journal, but we don't always know what to journal about, and we don't always know what prompts to use. So I'm going to help you with those prompts so that you can have your journal in your time of self-discovery while we're all in quarantine. Yay. What else am I working on? Oh, obviously this live is going to turn into a YouTube video because that's what I do. Way too much of that. And what's else on my list? I'm trying to keep track of my list because there's so many things. Oh, and I'm putting a bunch of videos I just did that I need to fix and make up because they're answers to like frequently asked questions, and I need to fix my frequently asked questions section on my website. And I have a website redesign we're supposed to be working on, and I'm just not ready. I'm not ready. So those are just some of the things I'm doing. If you would like to support me in them, I would love to have you because I need to do one thing. I need to finish. But tomorrow I think I have a Zoom meeting. Oh, my niece just sent me a, "Hey auntie, what you doing?" What she want? What she want? Last time I got a "how you doing," she was telling me about her little business, and next thing I know, I'm buying her one of those forms for her to dress her stuff on. You know, like to put her outfits on and all that kind of stuff when she's making them. Yeah, all the kids think they're clothing designers now, but whatever. So, well, thank you all for joining me. Thank you for your messages. I wish more of you would actually type in the comments while we talk instead of later, because later you're like, "I was listening to you and I was thinking this." And also, thank you all for getting my YouTube channel over the hump. I now have a custom URL, so it's great. It's youtube.com, and then like C, they all have like C, and then Jones Associates Law PC. I didn't want all those letters, but they did it. But the long and short of it is it's now custom, so I have like a real grown-up YouTube channel, and I don't even have to like do makeup tutorials for it to be good. Yay. And I did not do my live today with questions because no one gave me any questions. So if you want me to do another live with free legal advice, which I have offered to people, then you need to drop the questions here or on my law page. I actually did a telephone call-in show last night, which is going to be available to everyone. I just got the preview to listen to myself, but it's going to be available to everyone, and I will post when it's available. So a lot of questions I answered last night, and a couple people reached out to me. So if you want me to do more free legal advice, which is usually my Friday lives or some other times when I can, just let me know, and I will do it. And I don't do that a lot because, malpractice. But hey, thank you all for joining me. Have a cup of tea with me or whatever it is you're drinking. I promise it's tea. So, thanks. I'm Jackie Jones of Jones & Associates Law, PC, your family fixer. You have a great night.